This is very important. If he makes an attempt for Chris, he's 8 inches taller, some 17 years younger. And in addition to that, he's short, he waddles, he's dumpy, he's fat, got a big moon face, a big head, projected head, and very ridiculous proportions. And she is not, he has to read the body language. That's everything. And ask himself a large series of very revealing questions. He's got to deliberately go out to expose, to make a case, and provide evidence for why he thinks the approach he may be contemplating with such a woman could be effective. He watches the body language. He does a very serious self-assessment. He draws pictures. He uses the Gestalt chairs where he plays both roles. He has an out-of-body experience, a complete out-of-body experience, anticipative, projective, emotionally projective experience. He goes around the circle, the Knights of the Mirror, where everybody has a right to hold their own mirror up to him. The mirror, he has to see himself, his reflection in that mirror, the way each one in the group sees him. That's predicated on their behavior to him, on their reactions to him, on the obvious observables. And he goes around the whole room like that. Each has a chance to, and is instigated to give this individual, the subject, their brutal response to him. It doesn't, we're not talking about truth here. They don't have to be right. It's just a visceral reaction that we're going for here. We're talking about the how, not the what. We're talking about particulars. We're talking about observables. We're talking about behaviors. He has to know how to do a self-assessment. He has to know where he stands in a situation every moment. He comes in, regrettably, because of his appearance and personality, lack of effective social skills, and lack of the capacity to effectively use the proximus, that's the space, the between, because he has no physical presence. This hurts him very badly. And he always has to be aware of his opponent, his taller, much taller, because he's severely vertically challenged, opponent invading his space to try to intimidate, discourage, override him, confuse him, distract him. He has to realize he's not the personality boy. He's not the glory boy. He has to keep the body language, the annoying quirks in body language. You notice when I'm talking to you right here, I don't have some stupid smile, or I'm not doing all of this bullshit to try to charismize, use charisma or charming, appealing body language. I'm no pretty boy. Now, He's got to say and do everything with minimal effort, maximum efficiency, and in passing, with the minimal use of hand motions, body language, and quirks, situationally inappropriate smiling, profiling, talking for aesthetic appeal, and saying absolutely nothing. He's got to focus and be driven by content only. He's got to be able to do a running self-assessment as he goes. And he's got to realize and not be tortured by the fact that he has to compete. And everything's a ruthless competition. Anybody tells you different is lying. He's talking Pollyanna, Alice in Wonderland. I'm not from Alice in Wonderland. He's got to compete and know how to compete in the way that is most functional. I'm not going to use the word effective because our guy who is vertically challenged like me is, because of that, very far behind the eight ball. And particularly if he's not in tremendous shape, muscular shape, brute strength, punching power, grabbing power, and he's not sharp in his mind to assert himself, verbal judo. And he's not a good observer and memorializer of what's going on and give a good objective running account of what's going on right now. Then he loses any effectiveness he may have in a struggle, and it is a struggle. There's nothing humane about it or inhumane about it. It's a struggle. Good, bad, right, wrong, true or false has nothing to do with it. Level playing field has nothing to do with it. Altruism, humanism, compassion have nothing to do with it. Consolations are ridiculous. The world doesn't give a consolation. If the world does give a consolation, it's a phony. It's a warm fuzzy. It's a stroke job. It's called consolation by admonishment. It's called phony encouragement without taking into consideration the particular individual you're trying to encourage, his capacity to do X, Y, and Z you claim you're trying to encourage him to do. It's a pompous position, to say the least. And when they say pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, the one who says a rugged individualism, that's probably the one that had the most help. And by help, I mean backup, networking, the ability to establish powerful rapport and connections, and the ability to leverage favors with authority, with credibility, with power, to guarantee the performance. And if you want to call that individualism, then that's rugged individualism. Nobody ever defines their terms in a clear, consistent manner. They always lie by omission and commission, or tell the truth by omission or commission, studiously leaving important details or backstory that would be relevant. They leave it out. And nobody has the intestinal fortitude to ask the right questions, the ones that matter, and follow through all the way. Each has their own. None has the time. Don't come to your fellow human reality if you don't have leverage, if you can't repay a quote unquote favor. Don't ask the favor unless it's entirely necessary, because it's going to have a hook. Get on your own self-support, self-sufficiency as quickly as possible. Don't need your fellow man. That's the only individual that can have a quote unquote friend, paradoxically. Anyone that tells you different, I challenge that man, and I call that man a liar. Any questions?